Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I wanted to take a look at Numbers 24 and 17. Lord willing, we go a little further down than that, but this is pertaining to what the guys at Genesis have said recently. And they've been trying to say that the other nations can achieve salvation. And that is not true. Salvation is only for Israel. You see that throughout the scriptures. You look at the second covenant, and it's only speaking to Israel. Those are the only names mentioned. You look in Revelation, there's only 12 gates, and those have the names of Israelites. Salvation is only for Israel. It goes from Abraham through Isaac and through Jacob. Abraham had multiple sons. He had other sons. But it went to Isaac. That's where the promise and the blessing with. Isaac had multiple sons. He had Jacob and Esau. And the promises and the blessings were put by Esau, and they went to Jacob. And from Jacob is where it landed. And he had 12 sons, which make up the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that came out of the loins of Jacob, those blessings pertain to, not of the other nations, not of Esau. Esau didn't come out of Jacob. Esau came out of Isaac, and he was put by for the blessings. It doesn't pertain to him. It doesn't pertain to the children of Lot, even though Lot was related to Abraham. It doesn't pertain to them. Those are other nations. It only pertains to the progeny of Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and those are the Lord's chosen people. The other nations make up the enemies of the Lord. And so let's take a look at Numbers 24 and 17. And this is between Balaam and Balak, and the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam. And so actually let's jump up to 14, because this is a vision that he had for the latter days. So Numbers 24 and 14. And now behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. And Balaam was summoned by Balak to curse the Israelites. And he tried to curse the Israelites, but the Lord wouldn't let Balaam curse the Israelites. And so Balak started getting upset because he called him to curses, but he could not, because there's no enchantment against Jacob. And ultimately, you can't curse that which the Lord has blessed. But I read 14 to show that this is latter day, the end time prophecy. And so Numbers 24 and 17 says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab. Moab's the so-called Chinese people, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And so, starting back at the top, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. Because this is speaking to the end days, the last days, when Yahweh Shai actually returns. It says, there shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. So you see that star there. There shall come a star. It's capitalized because it's standing for Yahweh Shai. A star out of Jacob, and a scepter, and that S is capitalized because it's speaking to Yahweh Shai. says, shall rise out of Israel. And so let's get that word for scepter, which is Shabbat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Strong's H7626. Shabbat. Just rod, staff, branch, offshoot, club, scepter, tribe. It goes in tribe, clans. But looking at the definition, branch, scion, stick for punishing. Yeah, it says he shall rule them with a rod of iron. It says riding, fighting, ruling, walking, a clan. But skipping on down, you see where this appears again. It's here in Genesis 49 and 10, in which this is speaking of Yahushua. This is when Jacob was telling his sons how they would, where they would be in the last days. So these are prophecies as well. But this is speaking of Yahushua, in which we'll read the whole thing from verse 8. Genesis 49 and 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Judah and the so-called Negroes. Currently, it says, thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee, because Judah is the head tribe. It says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah. Judah is that head tribe, and it's evident that our Lord Yahushua sprung up through Judah, that scepter. So you're seeing that rulership, that scepter, that rod of iron came out of Judah. Speaking of Yahushua, it says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. And that makes me think, well, he rode an ass when he came back, so you could see that. And then also makes me think of Isaiah 63. It says, his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. And his description is given later on as well. But so you've got Genesis 49, and we can see that is speaking of Yahushua. And so Balaam is telling him what Yahushua is going to do. It says, what these people shall do to thy people. So and I believe this was a Moabite, Balak. I believe he was the king of Moab at the time. And so Balaam showing him that Yahushua is going to return in all his power and in all his glory. And he says, and shall smite the corners of Moab. So he's going to smite Moab. It says, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And so looking at that, all the children of Sheth, who is that? And so Strong's H8351, which is Shatha, which is seed of body, buttocks. So the children, he's calling them butts, pretty much. But then down here at Strong's definition, it says tumult. And who put a tumult for us? Your mind should be going to Psalms 83, and Lord willing, that's where we go. But looking here at the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon, it says tumult from the root, which is in Numbers 24 and 17. The sons of tumult, of war, it says the tumultuous enemies of Israel. So showing the enemies of Israel, which keep Psalms 83 in mind. And it says in Jeremiah 48 and 45, a passage taken from this in Numbers there instead. So let's go to Jeremiah 48 and 45. Then, Lord will, we go to Psalms 83. So Jeremiah 48 and 45, in which I'm going to start at 42. Put the points in 45. Jeremiah 48 and 42. And Moab, so-called Chinese, current day, and this is coming soon because this is latter day prophecy that we're reading in 24. And this is prophecy as well, latter day prophecy. It says, and Moab shall be destroyed from being a people. When has this happened? Not yet. They do call themselves the Chinese currently, but their big destruction is coming because they are their enemies as well. It says, because he hath magnified himself against the Lord. So they're going to be taken from being a people. It says, fear and the pit and the snare shall come upon thee, O inhabitant of Moab, saith the Lord. He that fleeth from the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that getteth up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare. So there's no way to get out of this. For I will bring upon it, even upon Moab, the year of their visitation. Visitation goes into judgment, saith the Lord. They that fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon, because of the force, but a fire shall come forth out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Shihon, and shall devour the corner of Moab, and the crown of the head of the tumultuous ones. And this is exactly like we're reading in Numbers 24 and 7. It says, woe be unto thee, O Moab, the people of Chemosh perisheth. Chemosh goes into their idol of ancient Moab. It says, for thy sons are taken captives, and thy daughters captives. Because they are going into captivity just like all of the other nations when Yahushua returns. Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days, saith the Lord. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. So Moab is about to get judged, and this comes directly from Numbers 24 and 17. And shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. And so we're just talking about Sheth, what it means. Strong's H8351. Seed of body, buttocks. So it's calling them butts. The children of butts. But it says tumult down here in Strong's definition. So let's go find that tumult, which is here in Psalms 83. Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. These are the children of Sheth. These enemies. And he's going to name them all. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So Genesis is saying that the Lord's enemies and those people that hate him, these nations that hate him, have a chance at salvation and that they can get saved. These same enemies that were trying to curse us back in Numbers 24. And that it's showing you that Yahushua comes to destroy. These are the same enemies that can receive salvation. It just doesn't make any sense. These guys don't know prophecy. Since they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So these same enemies that took crafty counsel against the Israelites, that have been against the Israelites, that knew that the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans knew that we were Israelites, but didn't tell us and kept us in this low state, calling ourselves black, calling ourselves Mexicans, calling ourselves Indians, calling ourselves everything but Israelites, but children of God. These same individuals that took crafty counsel against us, they get to just come into the kingdom and have the law, statutes, and commandments written into their inward parts, they get immortality? No, no, no. Part of the blessing is that the heathen will be underfoot. Moab is my washpot, over Edom do I cast my shoe. That's where they're going. Let's keep reading. It says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And this was how Jeremiah 17:4 came to be. These enemies cut us off. As he said in Jeremiah 17:4, thou even thyself shall be discontinued from thy heritage that I gave thee, and thou shalt serve thine enemies in a land that thou knowest not. They did this. They took us. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against me. They all work together to keep our heritage away and to keep us enslaved and to build up their kingdoms. So we're coming into the time that they get to build up our kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, kingdom of Yahushai. They're going to build that up. That's, if they're not going to do it and they could be saved, who's going to do it then? To just show how silly of an argument that is, it's everybody gets put down. Even 2/3 of Israel gets put down, but all of the other nations get put down. They're not. There couldn't be a chosen nation if all the nations were chosen. There'd be no point in saying any of that. And none of this changed because the Most High changes not. It's a silly argument. Verse 6, this is the tabernacles of Edom. So that is the head of the heathen. Edom being the so-called Caucasians, and this includes the small hatters, but the small hatters are mentioned on their own a little further down because they're big boy enemies. This is the tabernacles of Edom, so-called white people, and the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites are the so-called Arabs or Middle Easterners over there, who are not Edom, by the way, because you hear Edomites try to put Edom onto Ishmael, and Ishmael, they try to say it's the Arabs, but the Arabs are the Ishmaelites. It says, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, Moab's the so-called Chinese. It says, and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon. Ammon is the so-called Japanese, and Amalek. Amalek are the ones that wear the tiny tops, that live in the Lord's land, that call themselves the Lord's people. So you see, Edom is mentioned twice. It says the tabernacles of Edom just above, but Amalek is a part of the tabernacle of Edom. They're the head of Edom, and they're the head of the rest of the heathen. It says the Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre. Philistines are Hamites, and then currently inhabiting the land of Palestine, which it's like a bastardized way of saying Philistine. Currently inhabiting that are Ishmaelites, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot. Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera and to Jabin, and the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. So what's about to happen to all of them? These are all enemies to the Lord. All of the other nations are enemies to the Lord. And that's what, jumping back to Numbers 24, that is what is being said. Numbers 24:17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. Yahushua is coming back, and shall smite the corners of Moab. So he's going to smite and destroy and put into slavery the Chinese people. And it says, and destroy all the children of Sheth. All those people mentioned in Psalms 83. Those are the enemies of the Lord. All the enemies of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai of Israel are going to be put down. They That was an act of war. Psalms 83. And this is the other side of it. This is them being struck back from that act, from what they did. And it happened a long, long time ago. But as it says, actually, let's get it. Nope. Sentence against. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Happened a long time ago, and they think they're in good case, but the Lord is coming back to put them down and put in their current societies, in the time of the Gentiles, and put them all underfoot and into chains to build up the kingdom of heaven. He's going to cut it short. Since it shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth, all those enemies, all the children of the butt, of the buttocks, all these asses that went against the Lord's people. They are about to get put down. There's no salvation for them. Salvation only pertains to Israel. Verse 18, and Edom shall be a possession. So it's going back over these top nations that were in Psalms 83 that are about to be put down. So he's saying, then the white man shall be a possession. That is their manifest destiny. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, because they're not going to need it. Mount Seir was allotted to Edom, but they're going into hardcore captivity, and they're not going to make it out of it, so they don't need Mount Seir anymore. So Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. The enemies of Edom are the Israelites. We are just enemies all around. And Israel shall do valiantly. So the Lord's going to raise up his men into a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. And all these nations are going to get put down. It says, out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. Yahushua is coming back to put down all rule, power, and authority for good. And the saints of the kingdom shall take the kingdom and rule it forever and ever. And in verse 20, and when he looked on Amalek's those people with the tiny tops living in the Lord's land, calling themselves the Lord's people, but they are not. They are hated of the Lord. And this is them. This is a great way of knowing that this is actually Amalek in the land, because there's still war. When the Israelites return, there will be no more war after putting down all the nations. But once that land's being established, there'll be no more war. But they're there, tiny toppers, and there's still war. But here's their description. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations. So who was the first of the nations? Remember, this is talking about the latter days, the end times. Who's the first of the nations currently? It's those people with the tiny tops that run the banking system, that control the media and all of entertainment, from the music that you listen to the movies and television shows that are made, to the news broadcasting that you read in the newspaper or in magazines or see on TV. They control all of that. They're the number one, and the heads of all these corporations. They're the first of the nations. They are overrepresented within leadership of the earth. And they get mad when you tell them that, because they know Amalek was the first of the nations. But here's what it says. But his latter end shall be that he perish forever. So that's that big G word. Their seed gets completely removed from this earth. The seed of Edom. Amalek's a part of Edom. They're the head tribe of Edom. But all of Edom so-called white people, including those tiny toppers, the ones that actually come from Edom, because taking a step back, Israel scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And so we spread our seed throughout the four corners of the earth. So yes, there will be Israelites that have the appearance of an Edomite or the appearance of an Amalekite. But this is we're talking about the ones that actually, through their father's seed, trace back to Esau. They get taken off of this earth. That whole nation of people get removed from this earth. That's the best comeback for whenever anybody tells you that all nations can be saved. It's like, no, Esau gets deleted. Their whole nation gets deleted. You can use that big G word too. And so it's like, they get deleted. You are adding on to the books. Because that's not salvation. Getting deleted is not salvation. You can't say it is. And it's not, and it never will be. They get deleted. Salvation only pertains to Israel. But his latter end shall be that he perish forever. That's what is going to happen to them. That's their manifest destiny. They were the head of the children of Sheth. So they have a big punishment to pay. Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakhakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.